If you've been on the internet for as long as I have, then you've witnessed your fair share of social media hacks. But arguably none have been as successful or infamous as PlugWalkJoe, aka Joseph James O'Connor. This kid was one of the most popular and one of the most wealthy members of the OG user community. He would often be seen boasting insanely rare social media usernames, as well as luxurious suits, watches, and trips that he went on around the world. He was even able to pay his way into some of your favorite celebrities' friend groups.
Listen.
Ty, do you need to change your face? Your face is
Whoa.
Yo, stop. See, that's
do it,
whenever
Joe.
you
Do
drag
it, Joe.
it.
Do it, Joe.
Yo, listen.
Like,
Yo,
you dead
listen,
dragged
Emily.
down. Cute as
Ty,
fuck.
you need
Emily,
to
listen.
yeah.
I'm gonna need.
In particular, he was known to be very good friends with Rice Gum. But don't be mistaken, it wasn't just money that got Joe where he was in life. He was involved in some of the biggest hacks the internet has seen over the last 10 years. He was the one who hacked Dixie D'Amelio's TikTok account. And if you don't know who she is, she's one of the biggest stars on that platform. He was also involved in the big 2020 Twitter hack that stole over 130 valuable accounts, as well as obviously stealing millions of dollars from various different cryptocurrency exchanges. Unfortunately for him, he was recently arrested outside of his apartment in Spain, and then he was extradited to the United States, and he is now facing a maximum sentence of 77 years in a federal prison. But before we talk about his many accomplishments in the world of hacking, let's dive into his backstory a little bit. Joe started his life growing up as an average kid in the United Kingdom. He would spend most of his time playing games like Call of Duty, Grand Theft Auto, or Minecraft. That was until he discovered SIM swapping. And if you don't know what SIM swapping is, it's a way to steal someone's identity using their phone number. But it can only be done if you have enough information about them as a person and their personal life. And usually they use an insider at the phone company to get their foot in the door. In late 2018, Joe gained access to all of Logan Paul's social media accounts. He posted a video claiming to be giving away 5,200 free iPhones, and in the description he had a link that he directed viewers to click on, but when they did, Joe would gain access to all of their online data, and he would then sell that data to an online buyer where he would then make his money. Thankfully, YouTube locked him out of the account within just 3 short hours, and shortly after, Logan gained access back to his YouTube channel. From that day forward, Joe was a household name in the OG users community. Not long after, he got himself involved with the various different hacking groups in the community, most notably the Chuckling Squad. This group contains some other very high profile names in the hacking community, such as Debug, Corey, Nooblom, Joe, Owen, and Aqua. Chuckling Squad has one of the most insane track records for hacking that the internet has ever seen. Back in August of 2019, they gained access to several huge Instagram accounts, including the likes of James Charles, King Batch, Shane Dawson, Amanda Cerny, and even Jack Dorsey, the founder of Twitter. The only reason they were able to do this is purely because of SIM swapping. Once they had access to all these accounts, they began posting some pretty insane stuff, but they didn't stop there, and it only got worse from here. Their next target was a content creator known as Etika. Honestly, this was a really despicable thing to do because less than 1 month earlier, he had committed suicide. A few different celebrities actually reached out trying to get them off of the account, one of them being PewDiePie. In my opinion, their previous attacks were excusable, but going after someone who's dead, that's just fucked up. The group kept on hacking and eventually they gained access to Mariah Carey's account alongside Adam Sandler's account. Those hacks then led to one of their members getting arrested in February of 2021, and this arrest was made right after they hacked Jason Derulo's account. Recently on Twitter, allegations have been made that Joe is actually a groomer and would often target girls as young as 13 years old. As of right now, there's no real proof saying that Joe did any of these crimes. It's only allegations from people on Twitter, but these people are saying it happened to them or someone they know, and I just don't think they'd say that for no reason. I was also talking about a few people that have been hacked by Joe, but someone that I didn't mention earlier is named Dr. Disrespect. If you don't know who that is, he's a gaming live streamer who's pretty big in that community. Around the same time when all those other huge social media hacks took place, Dr. Disrespect's account started tweeting out some crazy stuff like this, and it actually happened while live on stream.
It's just a little hack. It's just a bunch of little 14-year-old chubby cheek, chubby gut, loose gut guys. It's not a big deal. Come on.
Since then, we haven't heard much from this group, but before we get any further, let's go back to the year 2019. During this time, Joe was actually involved in a multitude of other cybercrimes. In 2019, Joe played a big role in a medium-scale crypto heist where his group and Joe netted roughly $790,000. All of this started on April 30th, when they successfully SIM-swapped a crypto executive at an exchange. This exchange was known as Gemini. From there, they used the hijacked phone number to gain access to the company's crypto accounts as well as computer systems. Most of the crypto that was stolen was particularly Litecoin and Ethereum. Then they attempted to launder the crypto like any good criminal would, but this was all for naught because in the end they ended up depositing all of the money into a crypto account directly registered to his government name. That same year, he took over Bella Thorne's accounts, and he then attempted to extort her with her own nudes. Instead of paying Joe off like every other celebrity would, Bella decided to post her own nudes in response to this, which was pretty ballsy if you ask me. Then in 2020, he gained access to Addison Rae's TikTok account and Dixie D'Amelio's as previously stated. He didn't do this alone though. Alongside him the entire time was the Chuckling Squad, but it looked like they also added some new members to their group. Remain, Koi, and Funky are all new names, so I guess they made some friends. As a team, they made some kids go live on Dixie's accounts, and they even posted this video.
Follow PlugWalkJoe, or I'ma you, bitch.
At this point in the video, you can tell that Joe's been involved in a lot of celebrity takeovers, but he was just getting started, because 2020 was the biggest year of Joe's life. Things started to go wrong for Joe when Graham Ivan Clark and a few other people managed to fish their way into a back-end account of a Twitter employee, and they ended up actually gaining access to all of Twitter's internal tools. With these tools, they were able to steal over 130 accounts, ranging from OG names to celebrities to brand accounts. Joe wasn't too involved with this, but nonetheless, he was involved. His role in this was as a buyer. He bought the username @6 for $10,000 and was showing interest to buy more accounts. Now, some of you probably have heard of this kid Graham because he was plastered all over every news network in the country. But if you haven't, let me explain. This kid Graham ended up taking over the accounts of Barack Obama, Bill Gates, Elon Musk, and over 100 other high-profile individuals. After getting access to these accounts, he chose to promote a doubling Bitcoin scam. This probably wasn't the best choice because for all this effort, he only stole $118,000. But to be fair, Joe wasn't really that involved with all of that, but he was still named as a conspirator in this case because he knowingly bought stolen accounts, which is obviously very illegal. He can even be quoted saying, "They can come arrest me, I would laugh at them. I haven't done anything." About 1 year following the hack is when Joe was actually arrested outside of his apartment in Spain and then extradited to the United States to face trial. Even though he was locked up in Spain, during this whole time he was somehow able to log into Discord every day. No idea how that's possible. His involvement with that Twitter hack wasn't enough to get him extradited to the United States because, like I said, he was just a buyer, but the FBI had been building a case on him for a good long time now, so it didn't really matter in the end. Other than the Twitter hack, he was being charged for the SIM swap attack he pulled on the Gemini executive, as well as hacking Bella Thorne and Addison Rae's accounts. And now, with all these charges adding up, he's facing close to 77 years in prison. As serious as these hacking crimes are, there's an even more messed up side of Joe that we haven't even touched on yet. Joe is actually well known for swatting anyone that ever opposed him or was deemed a threat to Joe's life. If you don't know what swatting is, it's basically just faking a dire circumstance to get your local SWAT team to arrive at your victim's house. For example, pretending to be a gunman in a house ready to kill his family. It's been reported that Joe called up a police station in Orange County, California, and told them he was a father who had caught his wife cheating. Then he told them he was going to kill her along with his 6 children using a Molotov cocktail, unless of course they paid him $50,000. And then he gave them the address of his victim, which is who reported this case. Later that same day, he emailed a high school in the area using a fake email address and posing as the kid he was victimizing here. In the email, he told them he'd be targeting minorities and attempting to kill them at the school because Black lives don't matter and they need to get off American soil and give us our freedom back. This kid is absolutely fucked if you can't tell. A few moments later, he made some Reddit posts threatening 2 local restaurants in that same area, and he even made a call to that airport. This was also one of the reasons he was extradited to the United States, because if you didn't know, those crimes are way more serious than the SIM swapping. Even though all of these attacks were orchestrated against one victim, it was very clear that Joe had done this before and was very good at it. You may be asking yourself, well, how do you know that Joe was behind all these attacks? It's because Joe absolutely loved the attention. One might even call him an attention whore. Whenever Joe would take over an account, he would always be promoting his socials, his personal, all of that stuff. Not only that, but his OPSEC was honestly very bad. He was very unprepared for all of this. All Joe did was use a VPN and a virtual machine. Not only that, but he would also use the same servers when doing these things, so it became very repetitive and obvious. Earlier in this video, I mentioned that Joe was one of the wealthiest people in this hacking community, so let's discuss his money situation. No one knows for sure how much money Joe has actually made over the years, but it's been reported that he had a net worth of at least $10 million. Joe used to frequently buy a lot of OG usernames from Minecraft and other games and social media platforms, which if you didn't know, these OG names can be up to $100,000 per name. As of right now, there's no real proof tying any type of money to Joe, but there are a few other factors that we can look into and get a good idea. Although Joe was arrested, there was never any mention of any crypto that was seized or anything like that. And if you've been paying attention, we all know he had a lot of crypto, so that means he stashed it somewhere. There's actually been talks in the community for a long time now that there was some hard drive with over $10 million in crypto that he had on there, buried in his backyard or hidden somewhere else. In my opinion, I think the whole buried in the backyard thing is just kind of a joke, because as I mentioned, he lived in an apartment which did not include a backyard, but it is a very real possibility he hid a hard drive or something of that nature. Joe used to flex a ton of designer clothes and luxury watches. And again, he was also very well known in that community for spending a lot of money on OG usernames. He was even able to build a whole GTA server for RiceGum. You could even see Joe featuring in some of RiceGum's streams.
Yo, Joe.
What the fuck?
Joe. Joe. Joe.
Is he alive?
Joe. Nah, his mic is glitching. His mic is glitching.
Yo, can you hear me? Yo, first of all, right? Yo, tell your chat I was not folding, innit? I was on the phone with another girl. But nah, this girl is bad, innit? I'm not gay or anything, you know?
Just because of how much money he had and the lifestyle he was living. The GTA server never really went anywhere, mainly because Joe got arrested. But either way, it does cost money to upkeep those GTA servers and get them built in general. And on top of that, his living expenses while living in Spain were definitely quite high, because as I've mentioned a lot, he loved to ball out on Instagram and flex and all that. And SIM swapping isn't free. Every time he did that, it cost him money. Joe's situation is actually pretty similar to the kid we mentioned before, Graham. He got arrested before the actual hack even took place, and police recovered around $4 million, all just sitting in a hardware wallet. But since he was a minor at the time, and they could only really prove that $1 million of that money was tied to illegal, illicit activities, Graham actually got to keep the other $3 million, simply because the police couldn't look into it or tie him to these crimes. So as far as proving it goes, Graham Clark really is only proven to have stolen $1 million, but everyone knows it's really much more. Although Joe was facing up to 77 years in prison, he only got a 5-year sentence in federal prison, with 28 months reduced from his sentence due to the time served in Spain. So that means he only has 2 years and 8 months left, but even then, he'll probably only serve a year to a year and a half. Joe also is being asked to pay up to $2 million in restitution by the United States government, so if he does get that hard drive back, he won't get to keep all the money, but he'll still have some left. And if you ask me, $2 million and 2 years in jail really isn't all that bad of a punishment for a potentially 10-figure fraudster. But that's nothing new for white-collar criminals. If there's one thing you should take away from this video, it's the fact that white-collar crime has an insane risk-to-reward ratio. And before I end the video, I just want to give a quick shout out to Ironic on YouTube for giving me the idea to make this video. If you like these type of videos, go check out his channel. He has a bunch of really high quality ones just like this. Anyways, thanks for watching. I love you guys. Peace.